I want you to picture two people, both 57 years old, same country, similar careers, similar salaries their entire working lives. Both opened a retirement account in their late 20s. Both contributed every single year without missing once. Both did exactly what the financial world told them to do. The first person picked a target date fund, the one their HR department recommended. Set it and forgot it, never questioned it. Why would they? It was supposed to get safer as they got older. Last year, 12 months before their planned retirement date, that fund dropped 19%. That was $95,000. Gone. Not from a bad decision, from a product marketed as protection that failed at the exact moment it was supposed to protect them most. The second person asked one question at 45 years old. Just one. Is this plan actually built to last? And what they found changed everything. 3 adjustments. No dramatic moves, no risky bets. They retire next year fully funded, no panic. Same starting point, same discipline, completely different destination. And here is what I need you to understand right now. The difference between those two people was not income, not intelligence, not even investment skill. It was information. The retirement plan most people are following in 2025 was built on rules written in 1994 for a world that no longer exists. And right now, whether you are 35, 45, or 55, there is a very real chance your plan has the same cracks in it that swallowed that $95,000. There are 5 specific traps buried inside the standard retirement plan that millions of people are following right now. 5 things working against you that nobody in the financial industry has any incentive to explain. Today, I'm going to name every single one and show you exactly what to do about it. Before I go any further, if you have a retirement account, a pension, a 401k, a superannuation fund, anything you are depending on to carry you through your later years, this video is not an attack on your choices. You saved, you contributed. You followed the advice of people and institutions you were supposed to trust. That took discipline. That took sacrifice. None of that was wrong. What was wrong were the rules those decisions were built on. The assumptions underneath the standard retirement plan have been quietly breaking down for years, and the people who built those plans have very little incentive to tell you that. So I'm going to tell you instead. There are 5 traps inside the retirement system that most people will never see coming. The 4% myth, the target date time bomb, the fee termites, the healthcare vortex, and the tax shift that just got activated in 2026. 5 traps, all of them working against you right now. All of them fixable, if you know what you're looking at. Let's go. Trap 1, the 4% myth. Let's start with the number that almost every retirement plan in the world is built around. 4%. That is the percentage most financial planners, retirement calculators, and savings apps will tell you is safe to withdraw from your retirement account every year without running out of money. Save enough, withdraw 4% annually, adjust for inflation, and your money should last 30 years. That is the promise. Here is the reality. The 4% rule was created in 1994 by a financial researcher named William Bengen. He studied historical market data and concluded that a retiree withdrawing 4% annually would survive every major market downturn in recorded American history, including the Great Depression. That sounds bulletproof. It is not. The 4% rule was built on one critical assumption: that bonds would always act as a reliable cushion when stocks fell. For most of the 20th century, that held. Bonds went up when stocks went down. The balance worked. That relationship has been breaking down. And when it breaks, the failure rates on the 4% rule become something nobody in the financial industry wants to say out loud. Here is the data. Under historical bond conditions, the 4% rule had roughly a 6% failure rate over 30 years. 6%. Most people would take those odds. But when real bond returns drop towards 0, and which is exactly the environment millions of retirees are entering right now, that failure rate jumps to 33%. 1 in 3 people following this exact plan will run out of money before they die. Let that sit for a moment. And if real bond returns go negative, which has already happened in multiple developed economies, the failure rate climbs to 57%, more than half. More than half of the people following the most trusted rule in retirement planning are statistically on course to outlive their savings. That is not a fringe opinion. That is peer-reviewed research published in the Journal of Financial Planning. As the safe withdrawal rate for someone retiring today, given current valuations and the interest rate environment, may be as low as 2.5%, not 4, 2.5. For most people, that changes everything. And yet the calculators still say 4%. The apps still say 4%. The default advice still says 4%. Now here is where it gets worse. Because even if you adjusted your withdrawal rate today, the account most people are using to hold their retirement savings has its own catastrophic design flaw built right into it. Exposed in devastating fashion just a few years ago. That is Trap 2. Trap 2. The target date time bomb. If your retirement savings are sitting inside a target date fund right now, and nearly 75% of retirement savers have exactly that, I need you to pay very close attention to what happened in 2022. First, let's make sure we are on the same page. A target date fund does one thing automatically. You pick a fund based on the year you plan to retire. A 2025 fund, a 2030 fund, and it gradually shifts your money from higher risk stocks into lower risk bonds as that date gets closer. The idea is simple. The closer you get to retirement, the safer your money becomes. You do not have to think about it. You do not have to manage it. It just happens. That is the promise. Now meet David. 63 years old, electrical engineer. Contributed to his workplace retirement plan for 32 years. I never missed a single contribution. His HR department recommended a target date fund when he first enrolled. So that is what he chose. By 2022, he had $500,000 saved. Retirement was 3 years away. His fund was supposed to be at its most conservative, shifting heavily into bonds, protecting everything he had spent 3 decades building. In 2022, that fund lost 19%. $95,000. Gone in 12 months. Not because David made a bad decision, not because he picked the wrong stock, because the foundational assumption underneath his entire fund collapsed. Here is what that assumption was. Target date funds are built on one belief. When stock markets fall, bond markets rise. That relationship acted as a reliable safety mechanism for nearly 4 decades. It is the entire logic behind the strategy. Shift into bonds as you age. Your portfolio becomes protected. In 2022, inflation spiked. Interest rates rose aggressively, stocks fell, and bonds, for the first time in a generation, fell at exactly the same time. The Bloomberg U.S. Aggregate Bond Index suffered its worst year on record, down over 13%. The safety net and the primary investment dropped simultaneously. David's so-called conservative fund performed almost as badly as funds designed for aggressive 25-year-old investors. The product built specifically to protect him at his most vulnerable moment. Failed at the exact moment it was needed most. And David was not alone. Millions of near-retirement accounts across the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia experienced identical losses that year. $3 trillion in target date fund assets. And the core assumption holding all of it together turned out to be conditional, not structural. The house looked safe. The foundation was already cracked. But here is the thing about the 2 traps I have shown you so far. Neither of them is the quietest one, because the next trap does not announce itself with a market crash. It has been running silently inside your account every single day, and most people will never notice it until the damage is already done. Trap 3. The fee termites. Termites do not announce themselves. They work quietly, invisibly, every single day. And by the time you see the damage and the structure is already compromised, sometimes completely destroyed. And the devastating part is that the house looked perfectly fine from the outside the entire time. That is exactly how investment fees work inside your retirement account. Most people look at a 1% annual fee and think, 1%? That is practically nothing. That is less than the tip I leave at a restaurant. How much damage could 1% possibly do? Here is how much. Take a retirement account with $500,000 saved and $15,000 in annual contributions. Assume a 7% gross return. a reasonable long-term average. Over 15 years, a portfolio with no fees grows to approximately $1,830,000. Now add a 1% annual fee, just 1%. Same account, same contributions, same return, $1,600,000. The difference is $230,000. Not in fees collected, in wealth permanently erased. Because every dollar that left your account as a fee was a dollar that never compounded, never grew, never came back, gone, quietly. Every single day for 15 years. $230,000 is roughly 3 years of retirement income for the average household. It is 2 full years of private nursing home care. It is the difference between retiring comfortably and retiring anxiously. And that is just 1%. Now here is what makes this worse. Most people have no idea what they are actually paying. Retirement plan fees are deliberately fragmented across multiple layers to make them difficult to track. There is the expense ratio, the annual cost of managing your fund. Then there are 12 B1 fees, charges that literally pay for the fund's advertising, not your returns. The fund's marketing budget. Then there is revenue sharing, where fund companies pay kickbacks to the platforms that keep their high-cost funds inside your plan. None of these show up as a single clear line on your statement. They are quietly subtracted before the number you see is ever calculated. You look at your balance. You think that is what you have. You do not see what was taken before that number ever appeared. The house looks fine. The termites are already inside. But here's the thing. The 3 traps I have shown you so far all live inside your investments. The 4th trap is different. It does not live inside your portfolio at all. It lives inside something far more personal. And it is the one trap that can make every other financial plan completely irrelevant. Trap 4, the healthcare vortex. Most people walk into retirement with one assumption about healthcare that feels completely reasonable and is almost completely wrong. The assumption is this: I have Medicare, I am covered. Medicare is real, Medicare is valuable, but Medicare was never designed to cover everything. And the gaps it leaves behind are not small inconveniences. They are financial craters that can swallow an entire retirement plan whole. Let's start with what just changed. In 2026, Medicare Part B monthly premiums rose to $202.90, up nearly 10% from the previous year. The annual deductible rose to $283. Part A deductible climbed to $1,736. And Part D base premiums for prescription drug coverage increased by 6%. These are not dramatic numbers individually, but they compound every year, and they are just the entry cost, the price of having coverage before you use a single dollar of it. Now here is the gap. Medicare does not tell you about clearly. Medicare does not cover long-term care, not assisted living, not in-home nursing care, not a private room in a skilled nursing facility. If you need ongoing professional care as you age, and statistically most people will, you are largely on your own. Here is what that actually costs right now. In-home care for someone needing 44 hours of assistance per week runs a national median of $6,673 per month. That is $80,000 a year. Assisted living facilities run approximately $6,200 per month. A semi-private room in a nursing home costs $9,581 per month. A private room costs $10,798 per month. That is $114,975 per year for one person. Now here is what happens when those numbers meet the average retirement account. Year 1 of a nursing home stay, most people can cover the bill from savings, painful but manageable. By year 2, the account that took 3 decades to build is visibly shrinking. By year 3, the reality of what is happening becomes impossible to ignore. By year 4, according to research published by the National Institutes of Health, 61.8% of nursing home residents who entered as private pay individuals have fully spent down their assets and transitioned onto Medicaid. 61.8%, with an average of $2,000 left to their name. In most states, that is the Medicaid eligibility threshold. You must be nearly destitute before the government steps in to help. And if you are a woman, and this number deserves its own moment, The projected long-term care cost for women who require more than 5 years of professional care is $665,000. The median retirement savings for Americans aged 65 to 74 is $200,000. That is not a gap. That is a $465,000 shortfall between the life most women are planning for and the financial reality waiting for them. One prolonged healthcare event, one diagnosis, one fall, one slow decline that requires professional care longer than expected. That is all it takes to reduce a lifetime of disciplined saving to nothing. And if you think the healthcare vortex is the last trap, there is one more. And unlike the others, this one did not exist in its current form until right now. Because 2026 just changed the tax rules governing every single dollar you pull out of your retirement account. And most people have absolutely no idea. Trap 5. The tax shift nobody warned you about here is something most people never think about until it is too late. The number on your retirement account statement is not the money you get to spend. And it is the money you get to share with the government before you spend a single cent of it. Every dollar you withdraw from a traditional 401k or traditional IRA is taxed as ordinary income the year you take it out. That has always been true. But in 2026, the tax rates attached to those withdrawals just got significantly more expensive for millions of retirees. And almost nobody is talking about it. Here is what changed. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 introduced lower marginal tax rates that reduced the burden for most American households. Those reductions were always temporary. In 2026, they expire. The brackets snap back to their previous higher levels. What does that mean in plain numbers? The 12% bracket becomes 15%. The 22% bracket becomes 25%. The 24% bracket becomes 28%. For a retiree withdrawing $60,000 a year from a traditional retirement account, that bracket shift translates directly into thousands of dollars less in spendable income. Not a one-time event, every year, for the rest of their retirement. That is the bad news. Here is something most retirees in 2026 do not know. And it is genuinely good news if you act on it. The One Big Beautiful Bill passed in 2025 introduced a senior bonus deduction specifically designed to offset some of this tax burden. If you are 65 or older, you now qualify for an additional $6,000 deduction on top of the standard deduction. For married couples filing jointly, $12,000. For middle-income retirees, this deduction can significantly reduce the federal taxes owed on Social Security benefits and retirement account withdrawals. It begins phasing out for single filers above $75,000 in modified adjusted gross income, and for couples above $150,000. If you have not spoken to a tax professional about this deduction yet, that conversation needs to happen before the end of this tax year. This is one of the rare moments where knowing something most people do not know puts real money back in your pocket. Not theoretically, this year. But understanding each of these 5 traps individually is only part of what I need to show you. Because there is one more layer. One that explains why 2 people can face the exact same traps and end up with completely different outcomes. And it has nothing to do with how much they saved or how well their investments performed. It has to do with timing. Now here is the part that ties everything together. And it is the piece of information I believe most people in the financial industry genuinely do not want you to understand. Everything I have shown you so far, the broken withdrawal rate, the failed safety net, the silent fee drain, the healthcare time bomb, the tax shift, every single one of those traps becomes dramatically more dangerous depending on one thing. Not how much you saved, not which funds you chose, not even how long you live. Let me show you exactly what that means. 2 people, call them James and Carol. Both retire with $1 million saved. Both have identical average investment returns over the course of their retirement. At same market, same funds, same everything, except one thing. James retires in 1973. His first year of retirement, the market drops 15%. He needs to withdraw money to live, so he sells shares at their lowest point. Those shares are gone forever. They will never recover inside his portfolio. Because they no longer exist inside his portfolio. Carol retires in 1974. Her first year, the market rises 12%. Her portfolio grows before she takes a single withdrawal. Her capital base is larger. Her compounding foundation is stronger. Same starting balance, same lifetime average returns, same withdrawal needs. James runs out of money at 83. Carol is still fully funded past 95. 1 year apart. One sequence of returns. 2 completely different retirements. This is not a historical curiosity. My research shows that approximately 77% of a retirement plan's ultimate outcome is explained by the returns experienced in the first 10 years of retirement alone. 77%. The first decade does not just matter, it decides almost everything, which means that every trap I have walked you through today, the broken rule, the failed fund, the silent fees, the healthcare crisis, the tax shift, if any of them hit you hard in that first decade, the damage is not just painful, it is potentially irreversible. That is the full picture of what you are actually managing when you manage a retirement plan. Not just a number on a screen, a sequence of events you cannot fully control, but that you can absolutely prepare for. And that is exactly what I want to show you next. So what does a retirement plan that actually survives look like? Not in theory, in practice. In the real world where markets crash, healthcare costs spike, fees compound silently, and tax rules change without warning. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is personal financial advice. What I'm about to give you are 4 structural principles, documented, researched, and used by the retirement plans that actually make it through everything I have described today. Take these to your advisor. Ask them directly whether your current plan reflects each one. The answer will tell you everything you need to know. Principle 1. Stop withdrawing on autopilot. The 4% rule assumes you will withdraw the same amount every year regardless of what the market is doing. Retirement plans that survive do not work that way. They use adaptive withdrawal strategies, pulling back spending during market downturns to protect the capital base, then recovering when conditions improve. Flexibility is not a luxury. In a volatile market, it is the difference between a plan that lasts and one that does not. Principle 2. Get contractual protection. Not just diversification. Bonds were supposed to protect you when stocks fell. 2022 proved that is not always true. Retirement plans that survive use instruments that provide contractual downside protection, floors that hold regardless of what bonds and stocks do simultaneously. Diversification reduces risk. Contractual protection eliminates a specific portion of it entirely. Those are not the same thing, and most people only have one of them. Principle 3. Fund your healthcare as a certainty, not a contingency. The average 65-year-old needs between $135,000 and $171,000 set aside specifically for long-term care needs, not invested for growth, allocated, dedicated, treated as a known liability that will arrive, not an unlikely possibility that might. The retirement plans that survive do not hope the healthcare vortex misses them. They fund for it in advance. Principle 4. Diversify your tax exposure, not just your investments. Every dollar in a traditional 401k or IRA is a dollar the government has a future claim on. With tax rates rising in 2026, that claim just got more expensive. Retirement plans that survive hold money across 3 different tax environments. Pre-tax accounts like traditional IRAs and 401ks, tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, and taxable brokerage accounts. And that diversification gives you control over which dollars you spend and when, which is one of the most powerful tools available for managing your retirement tax burden. 4 principles, none of them complicated, all of them missing from the standard retirement plan most people are following right now. You came into this video not knowing what you did not know. That is not a character flaw. That is what happens when the system is designed to keep the rules obscure. But you know now, and knowing changes everything, because you cannot fix what you cannot see. Now you can see it. Here is the truth I want to leave you with. There are 2 kinds of retirement plans in the world. The kind built on assumptions. Assumptions about withdrawal rates, about bond safety, about what Medicare covers, about what fees cost, and about what taxes will do to every dollar you pull out. Assumptions that made sense in 1994 and have been quietly breaking down ever since. And the kind built on reality. The reality that rules expire, that markets do not cooperate with calendars, that healthcare costs do not care how disciplined you were, that the timing of a single bad year can reshape the entire trajectory of your financial future. Most people are living inside the first kind of plan and calling it security. You no longer have that excuse. You have seen the 5 traps. You have seen the mechanism behind each one. You have seen what survives and what does not. The only question left is what you do with that. Everything I have shared today is the surface. If you want the full picture, the tools, the frameworks, the reading that actually changes how you think about money, it is all in the description box below. Go there after this. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of the 5 traps do you think is sitting inside your retirement plan right now? The 4% myth, the target date time bomb, the fee termites, the healthcare vortex, or the tax shift. I read every single one. I am Floxy, and I will always remain the wealth coach you can trust to bring you what actually matters. Not noise, not fear, just truth. See you in the next one.